Through the concrete cracks worn weary by work boots and high heels. Through the concrete cracks showered in tears of sorrow, tears of joy. Through the concrete cracks rumbled by reverberations of 100 years, a flower on the hill takes its first breath, and a grand hope springs. Welcome to the Spring Street podcast at the intersection of creation and destruction in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. And now, a word from the sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Starship Kairos, a podcast studio available for bookings in downtown Los Angeles. Starship Kairos is where my guests and I make this show happen. Soundproofed, cozy, and equipped with professional audio gear, Starship Kairos is an ideal location for any type of podcast. Starship Kairos offers a full suite of services including content consultation, mixing and mastering, and custom jingle writing. For rates and booking, check them out on Instagram at Starship Kairos or click on the link in the description. And now, let's dive in. Welcome to the Spring Street podcast.
Woohoo!
Glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
These are some of my favorite types of podcasts to do because we just met yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
And I love it when I meet somebody just pretty randomly and then either like later in the day or the next day we're doing a podcast.
Why not just do it right away?
Because for the most part, I'm completely flying blind here.
Cool, me too.
Which is okay, awesome. But you gave me some good cues, some good things to go off of.
Okay.
In our very brief interaction, so I want to talk a lot about your music, but you also told me that you converted a van, or you had a bus, or what is the story with the bus?
Yeah. So before van life was like a thing. I mean, it was, I guess, yeah. I want to claim it before it was popular, but whatever. That doesn't matter. I had a dream to have a tour bus that I would, basically design. I just love like creative problem solving. And in many ways, this was like the perfect thing, like how to fit an entire home into a small space that moves. And I could like go on the road and like play shows or whatever. So there's like always going to be like a tour van. And then during COVID, I was able to work remote. And then I had a little bit of, I needed to repair a relationship with my dad. And he's also very like mechanical. And so me and my husband, Gabe, we drove down to Florida. We bought a shuttle bus that was like, I'm pretty sure it came from Virginia, where it like bussed people from like a senior home to like the beach. Like so it didn't have that many miles, like thankfully. We converted over 3 months in 2021. And then, we drive it basically like up and down the East Coast. Like,
no way.
We did one little tour, but we haven't had it that long. So we're just trying to use it as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. Does it have solar power?
It does. Yeah. It has like.
Walk me through it. Like describe this van to me.
I know, man, I should have prepared. It does have solar power. It has, basically, it's pretty self-sustainable. We had or have a composting toilet. We have a shower.
Okay. Is it a Nature's Head composting toilet?
It is not a Nature's Head.
Oh.
You've done your research.
I mean,
do you have a Nature's Head?
I don't have a Nature's Head, but I have some thoughts about the Nature's Head.
I'd love to hear them.
Well, you pay $1,000 for this
a bucket
toilet that you're still going to have to like eventually empty and like wash out. Like, I feel like the unavoidable is that you're gonna have to dump your shit at some point.
I know,
and I just don't know if it's worth paying $1,000 for.
And also, people claim that it's like composting, but it actually takes like months, if not longer, to like actually compost waste, and then you can't like
you can't just dump it.
You can't just dump it anyway. Yeah. So like,
I have heard people say good things about it. Like I feel like I think
it's a great option
who have it
within the composting toilet world.
Yeah,
great.
What did you guys go with?
What I think it's a Sunmar. I forget the model, but it's basically just like a prettier bucket. Cheaper than the Nature's Head.
Okay.
But I just recently on our last trip down opted for now I'm like blanking on the name, but it's basically like a dry flush toilet now because we might rent it out.
Is it the one that has like the tin foil thing?
Lavio. Yes, it's basically like a diaper genie for adults.
Those things are crazy.
Yeah.
Those things are actually super cool.
Yeah, and you don't have, I mean, it's still like you don't have to like deal with
It's not the same.
directly.
It's way
deal with
easier,
it.
for sure.
Sorry. Yeah. It's the reality of bus van life.
Yeah.
You have to be one with your body.
It changes things.
It does.
It really, you learn a lot about your daily routines very fast.
Yeah.
When you're living in a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So it has all the things though. It's got a queen bed.
Damn.
You lift up the bed and there's like a little garage area. It's got cabinets above the bed, which is basically like enough for like 3 weeks of clothes, I'd say. Behind the bed is like the like hamper, and then underneath is also like all the electronics. We have a little dinette that converts, but that's kind of broken right now. We need to repair it. But yeah, a little dinette, kitchen with 3 burners. We have like a extra countertop that pops up.
Nice.
Sink. It's like an actual like a New York City sized kitchen, actually.
That's honestly how I always think about it.
Yeah,
when I'm like in a bus or like a converted school bus or even a van, I'm like, this is like a New York apartment. It really is.
Do you frequent these conversions? Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
Tell me about your van.
Well, my van, so I have a 2021 Mercedes Sprinter that I spent probably about a year and a half converting. Took a long time.
Yeah.
And so I got 525 watts of solar on top.
Okay.
400 amp hours of lithium ion battery.
Yeah.
Which
See, you have the elevator pitch like down. I needed to do my research. I think I have 800 watts.
That's amazing.
Solar.
But if you have a big shuttle bus, it makes sense because you got so much more room to be able to have solar panels, which is a huge bonus.
But we have like a mini split in it, but we can't really use it with the solar because it takes so much.
What is a mini split?
It's like a heater and an AC, like a little like split system that you'd have like in a home, but like small size. And we like extended the bumper in the back and like has a little compressor outside.
See, that is something I wish that I had. Does it run just off the solar?
It can, but it sucks a ton of power.
Yeah.
So
how do you guys
really
run
want it to be plugged in.
Oh, you have to actually like use shore power.
You don't have to, but your solar won't last.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
see, that's one of the trickiest things about the van life is figuring out the AC because I don't have AC. I just have a fan.
Yeah, but I mean, this is pretty moderate climate here.
Well, you would think that, but it can feel like 10, 20 degrees hotter in the van if it's in direct sunlight.
Yes.
For sure. But
power.
I've kind of learned how to like, and it's also such a catch-22 because you want to be charging, so you want to be in the sun because you want your solar panels to be getting hit.
Exactly.
But then if you're in the van and it's like,
if net zero, and then you're like, okay, it's nighttime, I have no power.
Exactly. So luckily, for the most part, I'm out and about, like working, doing life, doing my stuff. During the day, I don't have to worry about being in the van, cooking in the van. Like literally, like my body is cooking in the van.
Oh, like you.
Yeah. But speaking of cooking, my kitchen set.
Love it. Love the segue.
I have a propane stove, stove oven. And I love using propane.
Me too.
You guys use propane in yours too?
Yes.
Okay, propane, so underrated. It is so cheap. It lasts forever.
It really does.
It's really easy to work with. Like, I'm so glad I didn't go with like an electric oven top or burner that would have just been pulling on my solar.
Right. No, you really have to be efficient with everything. And like propane is really easy to switch out too. Do you have like the propane tanks or you have like a tank?
I have like a 1 gallon tank.
Yeah.
And I actually just keep it inside the van.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Risky.
You know, I was thinking, so the other day I was looking at it was like a trailer or something, and it had a propane tank on the outside. And I was like, you know, it feels just as risky to have this propane tank
outside
on the outside because if you're worried about it like blowing up, you know, if it blows up on the outside, as opposed to the inside, it's still like right dangerous. There. I think what people were worried about is like the fumes.
Yep.
But propane is heavier than air, so it will like so it would have to be like leaking profusely in like a really confined space to be dangerous. And I'm always usually like it's always closed, and then I always ventilate like with my either like I have these vents that's like they kind of sit on top of my window. So like I leave my window partially open and I have these vents that like fill that space. And then I also have my max air fan.
Oh, I got one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, you did your research. You guys did all the things.
We made like 2D models, like paper models of like to scale like 1 inch to 1 foot or something.
Yeah.
And like had to figure out how to do it. But
So you
and
built
a lot of YouTube.
You built this van with your husband or with your dad or both?
Both. And we also had a friend who was a carpenter, which that actually came in handy because I would spend like so much time like tinkering with the wood and he'd be like, wow, and like, here's your, So a lot of help, but we did it in 3 months. So I think
that's incredible.
Had I not had that, I mean, we couldn't stay in Florida forever. And we had a lot of help and we had an electrician helping and my dad and it was a whole little team.
What was the most exciting part about building out a shuttle bus?
Honestly, designing it, I think, was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm most proud of the hard work and sweat and like literal like bleeding from like all the hard work and splinters and all that. But I think that the fact that we fit everything in and like took the time to like figure out how to fit all the things, because I just can't. I'm just like not a person who said like I need it all. So I was like, we're gonna figure it out, which was really fun. Yeah. And I learned like SketchUp for like 101 to try and like
100%
3D visualize it.
Yeah, it's super helpful. I did the exact same thing. I used SketchUp to design the whole interior of my van, and
it's
also to design
helpful.
like the roof rack. Oh, yeah, totally.
Also for like just a visual person, like having it on a screen. Yeah,
I referenced that my entire build. Just like, okay, what am I working on? Well, I'm working on like this is where the bed is gonna go, and like these are the cabinets, and like I can see it. Like I need
to the
that.
like micro inch. I feel like
For me, I didn't actually do it based on the measurements. I just kind of like was like, this is what it's gonna look like, and I'm just gonna. I have like the real life measurements, and I'm just not gonna think about that in SketchUp. I'm just gonna look at it, but that worked perfectly for me. Just like a rendering, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a little bit hard. It had to be somewhat exact because the walls of the bus were like, they were wider at the bottom and narrow at the top. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's like that in a van, I don't know, but nothing was square. And
that's a really tricky part of it for sure.
And you think like sometimes we would like mismeasure like a 1/4 inch and then like things just like didn't fit and you'd be like have to take the whole thing out and then like refigure it all out.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the fun part too. I mean, fun and hard. Yeah.
Well, what were some of those challenging moments building out the van? Was there ever a moment where you're like, why am I doing this? Like where something just totally went wrong?
We had to replace the transmission. That sucked.
Yeah.
Bad.
How like far along in the process were you when you did that?
We were pretty much done with it. We were like, we drove it back and then, and also the brakes went. Oof. I wasn't driving at the time, but like the brakes just stopped working. Like I don't know how we didn't crash.
In a way though, I feel like
it was terrifying.
That job justifies itself if it's at the end, because you're like, well, now I have this thing and it's worth it to like
we were totally invested. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if it happened at the beginning, you might be like, screw this.
Right.
I'm not even gonna like just
totally.
We'll find a different vehicle.
Yeah. No, it was already like, this is it. Like it's already done. We're like so much time and thinking and like, we couldn't do it all over again.
Did you have any carpentry skills going in to the process?
Not really.
Yeah.
But our friend Josh was like a super good and very patient teacher.
Yeah. So you were pretty hands-on, like with the process.
Super. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think
Learned my way around power tools now.
Yeah. Like one thing I love about the van life community is how many people get into it who have never built anything in their life. It's such a classic story. And also on top of that, another classic story is like building a van with your dad. Like
really?
I think big time. I think the dads out there are the most stoked about van life. Because so many people that I've talked to, it's like that's part of the process. Like the dad is the one like helping out the daughter who's like building the van.
That's so funny.
It's like so classic.
Yeah. Well,
but
that's
I mean, YouTube is such a valuable piece of this equation too.
Well, I grew up, so like my dad was always tinkering and he had basically like this 1970s Trans Am since I remember, like and was working on it my entire life and is always like under the hood of a car. He's currently working on a Corvette. He's like very much like a car. We would like go to like car shows and stuff. So like I tried to get into cars, but like I think there was a part of me that was like my love of design and creative problem solving and your like mechanical skills and like this makes sense as like a thing we could do together.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But maybe it's more common than I realized.
Have you ever thought about doing the van life in New York?
The van is not allowed in New York.
Not allowed?
It's legally allowed.
Okay.
But personally, we have chosen to park it in the Catskills, which are like 2 hours north.
Right, those mountains that you're singing about.
That's
what?
them. Yeah.
How did that decision come about?
To go to the Catskills?
Well, to keep the van in the Catskills, not like bring it to New York City.
So our family, like my brother-in-laws owned a bed and breakfast in the Catskills that they owned for like 15, 20 years. It was like, but they slowly moved away and kind of just were like ready to sell it during COVID. It kind of wasn't their, like they were on to other things. And we kind of fell in love with it. We always wanted to have a place in the Catskills just to like, you need it for reprieve in New York. I feel like I honestly believe to make New York sustainable, you have to get out.
Yeah.
So we ended up during COVID, that was like, we were up there a lot. And then we fell in love and like, basically we're trying to fix it up to sell it. And then we ended up being like, well, the real estate market like went crazy. And so we ended up getting involved in that, and then we had a place to park a van, and we were like, maybe. And we were both working remote, and we were like, I wouldn't have chosen this circumstance to make this dream a reality, but like, I think we can make this a reality, and then kind of just fell into place. Yeah, but we couldn't. Yeah, it was like quickly. It was always like impending that we would like go back to the office for our jobs, you know. So like we couldn't stay. We tried to like get it done in the quickest amount of time possible. Yeah. And then keep it in the mountains. Yeah. Also gives us a reason to get out of the city.
For sure. Do you think you guys would ever do full-time van life?
I think I could, but I don't think we could do it in New York City. So it's a bigger question. Yeah. Because it's like New York or where?
I mean, maybe on the road on a very extended tour, a never-ending tour.
If I were by myself, I think I could do that. And maybe I will. I still dream to do that, but I don't think I could do it like all year round. I think I could do it for like a month or something, you know.
What's the longest you guys have been on the road together in the van or in the bus?
I think like 2 months.
2 months. That's a pretty solid amount of time.
We kind of just hold up in Florida. We like, there's Hip Camp or something, I think it's called. It's like Airbnb for campgrounds, like people's houses. They just like, we did that for a while.
What, like, explain this to me. I haven't really heard about this. Is it like for van lifers or is it kind of broad?
I think you can do tent as well. Okay. But like it's big with the van lifers, and they just like people open their yards and like will let you plug into their power, and then you just pay them for the night, and it's pretty affordable.
Oh, so it's kind of like Airbnb.
Exactly, like Airbnb.
It's called Hip Camp?
Yeah. I think it's called Hip Camp.
Interesting. So you actually just post up in front of somebody's house?
Yeah.
A total stranger.
I mean, I'm here with you.
That is true. That is true. I mean, man, that's
common denominator.
Yeah, you really like to step out into the unknown. I mean, it's good that's working out so far.
So far.
That's so interesting. I haven't heard about this, but I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm really curious to see, like, you kind of talked about like the wanting to do van life like before it was cool. Like, it is such a new phenomenon, and it's something that is continually like changing and evolving, and it's having definitely a bit of a renaissance. I feel like, especially since COVID.
Yes.
And I'm so fascinated to see the different offshoots and directions that community is going to go.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a van life gathering before?
No, but I'd love to go. I'm sure there's
this one I've been singing its praises this entire year. It's called Schoolie Palooza.
Okay.
And it's in Ehrenberg, Arizona. It's like out in the desert on BLM land. It's free. It's January 15th to 22nd.
Okay.
And it's the biggest van life gathering in America.
Wow.
And it's incredible. It's like hundreds, possibly thousands of people They show up. It's kind of like the next Burning Man in a way, because there's a lot of crossover in that community. But people like just show up and they circle up in like all these different circles. And there's
Do you have like your circle group? Is it like?
I think I will this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, last year I didn't like.
You found your circle.
Yeah,
last year.
I found my people because it was my first time going. So this time around, I'm like hoping that all those same people are gonna go, because then we'll definitely like have our squad together.
Yeah.
But there's like markets and stuff during the day, and then there's like a rave every single night, and there's like different raves, and it's just an incredible place to meet like-minded people from all walks of life.
I'm
like
sure.
People who are retired, people who are, in the tech industry, people who are YouTubers or influencers or like just hippies or like what.
Yeah. Do you like tour each other's?
Oh yeah.
Fans. That's fun.
Yeah. That's like a big part of it. Like people are super open to like showing off their setups.
I mean, you work hard on it, and it's, you're kind of curious of like how other people did the same kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fit all this in one little tiny footprint.
Yeah. Did you, before you built your van, had you like toured any other vans, or had you known anybody who had converted a van?
Did I? It's hard to distinguish between like many a YouTube and like real life. Because I think I talked to some people, or like the Facebook groups. I definitely did a lot of research, and we checked out a few bus places, and I almost bought a shorty like school bus.
Really?
Yeah, I was very close, but then my dad was like, "Too much rust, don't do it."
Yeah.
It's like, okay. But yeah, I think mostly just like online stuff, not like in real life interactions.
Looking back on that experience, what would you have done differently if you could go back and do it again?
I might actually opt for a van. I think it would have
instead of a bus.
Yeah, I think it's really nice when we park it to have the like roomy. It's like really wide and spacious and like for the small footprint. But I think parking it is, you have to be a lot more intentional about like where you park the thing. And I think if you get a van, it's like much more versatile for like where you can go with it.
100%. It's kind of funny because I have a van and I want a bus.
Oh, really? Want to trade?
Maybe we should trade. Yeah, trade for a couple months. Well, the thing is,
that actually is not bad. But mine's a 2009 Chevy. It's a honker.
Yeah, definitely a different vibe.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, if I had a school bus, I would just tow or like put my motorcycle on the back of it and park wherever it is that I fit, and then just use the motorcycle to get around.
Yeah, that's the
With
other
the van,
thing.
Though, the van can go anywhere.
Yeah,
except for parking garages. That's the one thing I can't do. Too tall.
Yeah. That's something I never thought about before this.
Yeah,
like,
and that makes a big difference.
I always look at bridge heights now.
Oh, well, yeah. For sure.
Just like wouldn't fit. Like,
wait, there's bridges that your bus wouldn't fit in?
Totally.
Oh.
Yeah, in New York, it's just really old. So there's some that are like 10 feet or like shorter.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because like my van is definitely, it's probably like 11 or 12, because I have a roof rack on top, and it's like the high roof van. And
yeah, I would do your, yeah, you chose right. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think the East Coast is less friendly to like, yeah, I just think it's like there's more land out here that you can kind of just roam around and park.
Yeah. When I was in New York last, I saw a converted van, and it was posted up in Brooklyn, like Williamsburg area. It was right on the water, and it had this beautiful view of Manhattan.
Wow.
And I was just thinking to myself,
unreal.
This person has got $1 million view, and they're just living in their van.
Where is this person? I need to meet them.
I would love to meet them too. I've been so curious about van lifers in New York, because I know it's a thing.
I do have friends that are.
What's their experience like?
Honestly, I'm still waiting for a van tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't like hung out a ton, but like we've talked about it, and they live in it, and that's something that's like
full time during the winter, even.
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
That's impressive.
I know. And I'm just like, where do you, all the things, like, how do you plug in? Where do you go to the bath? Or like, where do you like
totally
dump
your
water? Like, they must like go to Jersey or something.
Yeah. I like even
it's a lot of logistics.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. For me, I'm so used to Los Angeles. Like, I understand it. I know what to expect. Like, when I travel though, and I get that, what'd you say? Traffic. Yeah, I know
That's what I've
when
learned
not to drive. But it will get cold in LA. You know, if you're living in a car, if you're living in a van, like it will get cold. Like in the morning, like this morning, I turn on the water. The water is freezing cold, but it doesn't freeze, which is a big difference.
Right.
I feel like I don't know what that experience is like to be in places where I'm like, okay, now I have to think about this. Like, is my water tank gonna freeze? Like,
right. I think when we were building it, we consciously like put all of the like inlet water inside.
Yeah.
So that if you're running some kind of like heater, and we have a little like boat like furnace thing.
That's cool.
Too.
Is it a diesel heater? Oh, it's propane.
Propane, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It doesn't put out a ton of heat, but it's enough to like just get by. But it's definitely, and also the insulation with the windows isn't the greatest. I feel like vans are better with that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine that like if you're in it, there's some kind of heat that you have to have just to like survive. And if your pipes are like inside, then it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a real thing.
Fortunately, I haven't even had to worry about that so far.
Yeah.
I have never had like a little electric heater or any kind of heater besides just like the car heater. And I won't even like run it. I'll just like, if it's cold, I'll blast it while I'm driving.
And that's fine.
And then I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's it.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm like closed up, no vents open or anything. Put on a hoodie, maybe a beanie.
Yeah.
Maybe like I have a good like thermal blanket, but I've never been at the point where I'm like, I need a heater.
That's so nice.
But I also want to test that limit too.
Well,
I want to know.
You know where to go.
I know where to go. New York. Here we go. Gonna get that view of Manhattan.
Yeah, $1 million view.
Well, that's really cool. I actually like it's so funny because my experience of you like within the last 24 hours is seeing you perform, but I wasn't expecting to be able to have like a full-on van life conversation with you. So this is actually like a total
fun surprise,
like bonus cherry on top.
Yeah.
You've been making music for a long time. I kind of scoped out your Spotify. I think you put out your first record in 2016.
Yeah.
So
long ago.
You've been doing it for a minit.
Yeah. Hence the song joke.
I want to start at the beginning.
Okay.
Where did your start in music happen? Like, did you
songwriting or like music?
Music.
Okay. I first started playing the violin actually at age 5 because my grandparents were one played a viola and one played the violin, and they were in orchestra. They were cool. And then I started piano lessons because I guess that's what you do. And then so I was in orchestra actually. And then in middle school, I tried out for the school play, and then the choir teacher was like, you need to join choir. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I joined show choir in middle school, and then I stuck with orchestra and chorus until high school, and then I started writing in high school, and then studied music business because I was like,
oh, no way. Where at?
NYU.
Nice.
Steinhardt. Go Violets. The weakest. Like,
so that's what brought you to New York then.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Were you playing shows in high school?
A little bit. I would say more of like recital type things, or like more in the chorus. I still did a little bit of theater, but less like official. But I think I did like open mics and stuff. I dabbled.
Yeah. Who do you think were your biggest inspirations when you were in high school as a songwriter?
I dread this question because like it's like opening up your yearbook. Colby Calais.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Keena Grannis. The like classic like songwriters, I'd say. Gavin DeGraw, oh my gosh. We gotta whoop whoop. John Mayer.
Yeah, of course.
Continuum.
That's like one of my favorite albums of all time.
It's great. That
Continuum,
one is actually.
I could play that till the day I die.
That gives me back
forever.
Yeah. I had my R&B influences as well. I'd say, that's the main ones were them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you were in college at NYU, did you start performing and like gigging
No.
as a solo artist?
It was really like after college that it
Interesting.
started. Yeah, because I think studying music business, well, it wasn't a performance type of degree, which was my oversight, I guess. Also, I just didn't know. I was like, if you want to be in music, be smart about it. But I was just like, it took me a while to realize like I just want to be the songwriter. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, it was basically like post-college. I worked in music publishing for a while.
Nice.
And I worked for songwriters like on the admin side. And so I'd get a lot of like, I'd listen to all their song submissions and I'd be like, this is okay. Like, I don't know. Like I'd be like, I can do this, you know, or like, and just getting kind of inspired tangentially. And then, yeah, it took a while to be like, no, I don't want to work for songwriters. I want to like be the songwriter. But I also dabbled, I guess, in college too. I would say, yeah, more choir, more like writing, but never really left the halls of the dorms in those years.
So what made the change? What ignited that spark where you're like, I'm going to be Amy J and I'm going to go play?
It was definitely just like working at a computer, like typing in splits of like contracts for songwriters that they were signing, and I'm just like, why am I typing in numbers? Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like I could, yeah. Yeah, and I was just like, I would love to just do the thing that I'm like around, like kind of skirting around.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, you know, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to like do it. So I think it was like one New Year's, probably 2015, that I was like, this is like, I just got to do it. Like, stop beating around the bush.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just like, I'll regret this one day if I don't try.
Yeah.
And then I just never stopped because I'm just like still kind of saying that in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that first album come about? The one that you released in 2016?
Same way. I guess all of them have in a way. I had written a group of songs over the course of the years, and my friend John is a producer, and kind of helped craft an initial sound.
Mm-hmm.
And had like super amazing musician relationships. And so between that, it was kind of like discovering my sound as I went with help. And yeah, so I had like the skeletons of the songs that I brought into the studio, and then we like fleshed it out there.
And was that in New York that you put
all
out?
in Brooklyn? Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Your sound reminds me so much of Julian Baker and Phoebe
Oh my
Bridgers.
gosh.
I feel like lyrically, well,
lyrically,
like you remind me of both of those individuals. I think like vocally, your voice reminds me a lot of Phoebe Bridgers.
Wow.
And based on your reaction, I feel like those two are like influential people in your life.
I would say so.
Have you seen them perform?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the last concert you went to that you
of
saw?
theirs?
Yeah, like Boy
Brooklyn
Genius
Steel,
or like
Boy
one
Genius,
of them.
Boy Genius at Brooklyn Steel. I want to say like I think it was before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see them when they came through New York, partially because I think when the venue gets too big, I stop losing interest.
Yeah.
I want as intimate of an experience as you can get.
Yeah.
And then tickets get kind of like pricey or whatever. But I mean, I love them, but like, yeah, there's a certain point.
On that note about intimacy of concerts, I'm actually really curious about this for a few reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But last night you played a house show.
I did.
What is your experience with house shows? Have you been to many in the past? Have you played many?
I played a handful of them.
Yeah. In New York or in Florida or like touring?
New York, Atlanta, Nashville, and now LA.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get introduced into that scene, like house shows?
Through friends, I'd say. Yeah. And I think it's the most like organic way to like collect like-minded people into a space that is like a built-in listening room. Because I'm not really interested in, I'm not really like a bar songwriter, like band, you know, like I can't like, yeah, I'm not background music. Not because of ego, just because like it doesn't make sense. Like
Sure.
I'm like writing melancholy, like I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I would
Yeah.
like dampen the mood of any kind of lively establishment.
Yeah,
Um,
I understand.
Yeah. So I think it lends itself well to a more just kind of like quiet and pensive environment, which
Yeah.
have really worked well in the house show world. Plus, you have someone helping you kind of plan it, which that's
True.
already like half the battle.
Yeah.
Like venues and all the logistics and
Plan
finding
it and bring
a
out their
bill.
friends and
Mhm.
yeah. The reason why I ask is so my experience of discovering like the house show movement and scene, I was living in Detroit and
You were? That's cool.
I met this girl who was from
Not
Florida.
in a van.
Not in a van.
Okay,
I was
'cause
living in
winter.
a house,
One of those old fashioned.
one of those old fashioned houses that was being rebuilt. I lived in the house of a writer.
Cool.
That's a whole
From
other.
Florida?
This guy was from Michigan.
Oh, okay.
That's a whole other
Sorry.
story.
Okay.
But I met this
Cutting
girl. She was from Florida. We met like just randomly at a coffee shop, and she invited me to a house show. And so I came to that house show. I was out in Taylor,
This was
Michigan.
your first house show?
So here's the thing. I had been to shows, or I'd even played a show at someone's house before, like on a tour. But it was only because like, I think something fell through. Like we didn't get a venue booked and we were like, well, we're in the city. Like, let's just play at our friend's house.
Yeah.
But I
it's a
wasn't
great-
I didn't know that was a thing that people did.
Yeah.
We just did it because it was like the guitar player's
Like a backup plan.
parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, she invited me to a house show and I went to this show and it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Like there were poets and people knew like the words to their poems. Like there was like a touring band coming through, like, and there was this insane energy and love and appreciation for these artists. So I kind of like embedded myself in this community. And at the time, this was in 2016, Julian Baker was like just popping off. And these people were obsessed with Julian Baker. And so...
Also, as a group of poets, I feel like, didn't she study creative writing or like, I feel like
I actually don't know that.
She's very much a wordsmith herself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Is it Sprained Ankle? Is that the title of that first record that she put out?
I think so.
Sprained,
I don't know.
such a beautiful record. But that summer I saw her perform. I saw her open for Daughter.
Oh,
At
Daughter.
I think the place was called the Majestic in Detroit. One of the most incredible shows of my
man.
life. I was like up front of that show watching her, and that was actually the moment where I realized that I wanted to pursue music. It was like this,
no way.
this is a crazy, powerful experience. So it's just funny, like thinking about like Florida and Julian Baker and house shows. Like they're all those like specific points of reference are like very, very meaningful and intense to me.
Wow, cool. Thanks for sharing.
But also, of course. But it just kind of like made me curious about like your own experience, like with house shows. And did you ever? Because I know the East Coast, to me, it feels like the house show scene is maybe a little stronger on the East Coast.
You know, I've struggled to find a consistent rhythm with shows in general. And I've looked into some of the networks of house shows and I'm kind of like still looking into it, but I've still mainly just stuck with like friends and friends of friends and like who wants to host and kind of just like grassroots vibe.
What networks have you looked at?
There's like Concerts in Your Home.
Yep. That's a classic one.
Yeah. But you have to pay a subscription, so I didn't actually sign up with them.
Have you heard of Artery?
No.
Artery, it's like artery.io. I don't even know if they're still around. Let's find out. Let's find out. They were like it was kind of like So Far
we
Sounds.
could like surf the internet during.
Oh yeah.
This is fun.
Oh yeah. Artery.io. Did I spell that right? I'm really bad at spelling. So far I can't find it. Uh-oh. Artery shows in your home. I'm like just not even. I'm spelling arty.
Oh, that'll do it.
Artery. I don't know that these guys are around anymore.
Oh, bummer.
I'm finding things that are literally just about your heart. Okay, so at
Awesome.
one point in time, Artery was a thing.
Okay.
Maybe they still are, and I'm like embarrassingly just can't find them. There's another one called Side Door.
Okay.
And they
You know
started,
way more about this than me. This is great. I'm actually.
I took a deep dive.
I didn't take notes.
I took a
Yeah.
very deep dive. I actually, well, okay, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I took a
Yeah.
deep dive down that world. Side Door was started by a guy named Dan Megan. He's a artist out of Canada. He's based in Vancouver, BC, and he started a network called Side Door. I'm pretty sure it's free, and you can sign up as an artist, and they'll even like set you up with tours, like, but it's all house shows.
I love that.
House shows are like little quirky like coffee shop situations. I played at an anarchist bookstore one time.
Sounds right on brand. That's
through
great.
them. Yeah.
I'll play. Yeah.
But yeah,
Where is
like,
this anarchist bookstore?
that was in Vancouver.
Cool.
What's the strangest venue or place that you've ever performed at?
It was like actually Canadian. It was like Indie Music Week or something like that, and it was just It was less the venue itself that was weird. It was just the bill, because it was like this like jazz show tunes, retiree singing like basically jazz rapping about cats, and then me, and then like
Wow.
heavy metal after that, and it was just like
Very eclectic.
why? And yeah, literally no one. It was like us also playing to like the other people in the bill, so it was like,
Oh God.
this is so strange.
And this was in Canada?
Yeah, Toronto.
In Toronto. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually really love Toronto, but yeah, that was not a great experience. Yeah.
Sad. Have you played any other shows in Canada, or is that it?
I played another one. Now I can't remember.
Was it in Montreal?
No, I've never been to Montreal. That's my
Okay.
next. I'd love to go there
I mean,
next.
you're so close.
Yeah.
What about Europe? Have you like done any touring in Europe or
No,
performed in
man.
Europe at
I'm
all?
like, I am so intimidated by touring. I think I'm still just like, because I have to plan it myself, basically. I'm just like, I just want to write music and put it out.
Yeah.
That's my world.
That's what you've been doing. You put out
Yeah.
a ton of singles this year.
Yeah.
Are they in anticipation of a record that's coming out, or you're just like, so walk me through your process?
Yeah. Okay. So in 2016, I did my first EP. I followed that up with another EP. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a full length. Similar thinking. I'm like, if I don't do it now, or if I don't do it, I'm going to regret it later.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the whole thing, 10 songs. And then I finished recording the last vocal, and it was February of 2020. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I sat on this record for 2 years, basically, and I put it out in 2022. And by the time that happened, it was already, there was a big lead up to it, and I like hired a publicist and like did the whole thing. It was like trying to pitch it and like
pitch it to labels, or
yeah, but I didn't really have like a strategy. So I basically like gave all my energy, and then by the time it was out, it was just like this huge like exhaustion. And I think COVID too just like mentally like put me in a weird funk of like, this is just a lot for like not a lot of return on energy investment, you know, or even monetary investment. There's that too.
Yeah.
But so I had written like over the course of 2 years that I was holding on to the record I was writing, because it just comes out. Like I just, yeah. And so I'm like, shoot, I have these songs, like, what do I do? And I'm just like so tired of like putting actual like albums out. And at the time I put the album out, you know, I wanted like a cohesive sound, a story. Like I put a lot of energy into like constructing this piece of art. And I just like didn't want to care so much this time around. And I had so many songs, and I just was like, I'm just going to put them out.
Yeah.
And so I recorded some at home and some in the studio, and then we kind of like release them as the year like went on. And I still have songs that I have yet to like release. I have 15 songs I'm sitting on that I don't even know what to do with.
No
like,
way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every time I write a song, I'm like, great. Now what do I do with this? Like,
Yeah.
here's another one.
I mean, I feel like the anticipation of people who love what you do must be incredible, because I mean, if I heard that like an artist that I like, absolutely love and admire had 15 songs that they were like, I don't know what to do with these. I might just drop one out there.
Yeah.
I'd be like, damn, please.
Yeah.
I want to hear them. So that's an
Maybe
amazing
I'll
spot to be in.
Keep doing that. Yeah. But maybe I'm like ready for, I don't know. I let the year kind of to drip some singles to buy me some time to kind of reflect and think about like, what do I want? How do I want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
What am I trying to say?
Yeah.
So maybe I'm ready to, encapsulate a sound again.
Mm-hmm. When you're releasing your singles, do you submit them to playlists? Do you send them off to publicists? Like, what's your process for a single?
A single, so within the last year, I would say it's been like a little package thing where I made a deal with my friend. If I bought him a drone, he would make me 10 music videos.
Wow,
So
that's
we did
a pretty
that.
sweet deal.
Yeah, that was also like...
But like make the music videos with the drone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Lyric videos. So I was like, hey.
Oh, lyric videos.
Yeah, because I was like, just go find pretty landscapes and things, and then I'll pop my lyrics on there. And like, so every single would have a lyric video, and then we try to make like a live video.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Just kind of like very, very DIY.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, every release through the distributor you're pitching, and then like halfway through, I signed this distribution deal with A for Effort Records, which is like based in Ireland, and they are now like helping pitch for me for like the last couple releases. So
playlists,
cool. Yeah, all the things one would hope, putting it into the sphere and hoping something lands, and then just like doing also like very like small scale playlist submissions through like Submit Hub or like.
Yeah. I noticed on your Instagram that you Indie Vibes follows you. Do you know Indie Vibes?
Yeah.
There's this guy out of like the Netherlands.
There's some random like
I can't remember
hardcore. I'm so appreciative of those playlisters. They really yeah.
That guy's put me on a few things. He's a sweet dude. Yeah.
Are we on a
Shout
playlist
out to
together?
Indie Vibes.
Hey, Indie
that
Vibes.
would be crazy.
That would be.
I wouldn't be surprised. My music is also rather melancholy.
Bring it on.
So that would be pretty funny, honestly. I've always been curious. I was looking at your before I was looking at Nipsey Hussle. I was looking at your Spotify, and I always wonder, like, do you ever take a look at your related artists?
Unfortunately, I'm like
fans also like
obsessed about this row.
Like, do you know any of these people?
Change. They always change, actually.
Do you know
and they've
any
gotten
of them?
Lorcan is A for Effort, same label.
Wait, who? Where?
Lorcan O'Reilly.
Lorcan.
Yeah, he's
sounds
great.
Pretty Irish. Lorcan O'Reilly.
Yep. Last Day Shining are my friends.
Okay.
Old. This is a weird. Like, it keeps changing.
Do you know Arthur Cat?
No, maybe it's that lady that was singing at the weird venue in Toronto.
See, I always think like it would be so cool to do a show with like one of these people who's like one of your related artists. Like, if people...
I have tried.
Yeah?
It would be cool.
Unsuccessfully, or?
Yep. So there you go.
Damn. Yo, your summer 2020? Is this the Indie Vibes?
I think that's... is that not Alex Rainbird? That looks like... Is it Indie
Oh, no, this is not Alex Rainbird. But it does look like Alex Rainbird. You've been on Alex Rainbird?
I love Alex Rainbird, yeah.
Yeah, Alex, he's put me on a couple of things. He's a really incredible playlister.
They're great. Mm-hmm.
I think that he might be trying to like do a music festival or something now.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Oh, I'm tripping out. I think this is...
what does that say?
Why does it not say who the person is?
Indie.
It just says
all right,
indie/indie folk compilation summer 2020.
I mean, that's
beautiful.
Right on.
Beautiful.
That's where I hope to be. This is the playlist I hope to be in. So grateful.
When it comes to your writing, you even say on your... I'm going to stop doing this, I swear, after this.
I'm kind of enjoying how this is like...
scrolling through while I need to figure out a way...
How you're interacting with my profile. Yeah. This is like the designer in me. I'm like, hierarchy.
Oh, man. Daily dose of melancholy disguised in pretty melody.
I think that sums it up.
I think it does too. By the way, you should really have your Instagram on here. But
thanks.
Side note, designer note.
Yeah. I'll take that.
Listening to your music yesterday, incredibly beautiful melodies.
Thanks.
Incredibly beautiful songs, very melancholy content, which I love. I'm all about that. Trust me.
Can't help it. Yeah.
When you're writing, do you create moments where you are intentional about, okay, I'm going to write a song, or do you suddenly just feel like I have this song that's coming out, I need to sit down and just let it out?
More often the latter.
Yeah.
But trying to be more the former.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice a difference
flex the muscle
in the songs that come out of you between those two approaches?
Well, usually I'm sitting on an idea, or like I'll jot it down in my notes where it's like it's not a melody first, but the concept, and so it doesn't feel less like, I don't know. The process just feels like one flows easier in one order than another.
Yeah.
But I would say the quickest songs I write are usually the ones that are like, I have to say this, and like it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But not necessarily the better. Like, it's neither better nor worse. I think sometimes some of my best songs I've really thought about and like mulled over, and then some of them just pop out, and I'm like, yeah, like Reliance is just literally like a stream of consciousness. Like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And that one did pretty well. Not to say that, I mean, it's all subjective, but if we're going to base it on some kind of barometer, then I guess, yeah, that's a quicker one.
Why indie folk? Why is there like a rhyme or reason to why that's the way that you express yourself?
I think I have like somewhat pop sensibilities, and I have a softer voice. I also dabble with like more traditional folk. Like I sing sometimes at this church that does like bluegrass music.
It's cool.
And so it kind of is like the Venn diagram of like many of my influences and stylistic things. And the voicings of that genre seem to fit. Like, yeah, they're like more open and melodic, and you can get a little weird with indie. And indie's such a blanket term that it's like it can mean anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And folk just feels like more acoustic bass. But I'm experimenting with electric too. I don't know. I feel like I'm going more alternative folk.
Interesting. If you were to have an alter ego as an artist, what kind of music would you be putting out? Like, no one knows you, and this is your chance to just put out something that you're like, I could never put this out as Amy J, but I'm going to put this out. What would it be?
Well, funny you should say. That may already exist in the world.
Oh, snap.
Do I want to reveal my alter ego?
Is this the moment?
I just revealed it to, like, I've only told like 2 people. But this Polish EDM.
Okay. Polish EDM.
This Polish EDM DJ reached out to me on Instagram, was like, do you like, here, I have this song, like, do you want to like write on it or whatever? So I top line this song.
Sick.
That like is played in Polish clubs and like festivals and things.
Amazing. So it's actually doing like really well.
I'd say it's doing better than most of my songs.
Do you want to reveal?
No.
Top secret. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to check that out.
I don't even have access to my Spotify for Artists profile.
For that?
Because, and I had to make an Instagram, but it wasn't like legitimate enough. So it's just like the album art.
Wow.
And like, I can't, yeah.
Wait, do you have multiple tracks on that artist name?
It's just like remixes of the same song.
Incredible.
But I might do another feature. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think it's kind of fun to, I don't want to narrow myself into any one genre, but like all indie folk is like my core.
Yeah.
And I also am like a singer and I want to like stretch I don't want to like have to settle into one thing. I just can't call it Amy J, you know?
For sure.
So
where is the intersection of you as a human, an artist, somebody who feels very deeply, and the music business education that you received at NYU?
I think there's a conscious choice to follow what feels right. I guess I'm more of like a feeler than a practical, but I would say there's a big part of me that's like practical, which is what it like made me want to study music business in the first place, learn all the things, and just try to be smart and like wise about how I go about things. But really, it's like all experimentation and a guessing game, and the industry is constantly evolving and you have to keep up. So in that way, I guess I'm aware of that. And knowing that, I'm like choosing to say, I need to just make art that feels right and true and like capture what human experience I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say the thing I can like do and feel like I'm doing what I need to be doing is more like feeling based.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how am I feeling? How do I capture this? Not necessarily how do I make this a good business model.
Mm-hmm.
But in the back of my mind, knowing that like you can't just like it has to be crafted in a way that like isn't wasted energy. So there's like making art is inherently valuable, and like putting it out is good. If you don't do the business side of things and support it, it can only go so far. Even if most things you can't control, like how far something will go, but you can do as much as you can and then let go of the rest. But as long as the art is there primarily, and like that's what is fueling me, that's why I'm doing this, like that's what's important.
Yeah. You mentioned hiring a publicist for one of your records. Do you feel like that experience was worth it? Maybe like I would love to unpack that a little bit.
That's still the big question.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful. I'm glad I did it. It was a good experience. I might do it again, but it's really hard to find a return on investment for something that is it. The way it's been posed to me and the way I've been processing it lately is that you're planting seeds with a publicist, and like you just never know if the time, like if something doesn't get featured at that time with a publication or an outlet that you hope for, like it doesn't mean that it's like never gonna happen. Or like you also don't know if like the small publications or websites and things that like feature you and are really passionate about you, like they might work for like, I don't know, Billboard one day or like Rolling Stone. Like you just don't know.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of like relationship building, and it's really hard to put a value on that.
Yeah.
Because like, how much time should you spend on networking, and is it worth your return, or is there a return on time investment, you know, but you still do it because it's like important, not necessarily just like practically, but like, cause it's like important to have like camaraderie and like, I don't know.
Where did you find your publicist?
Through a friend. A friend recommended her.
Interesting.
Yeah. And she's great. I mean, I think it was important that she was passionate about my stuff too. She was really invested and like really could get behind it. And I wasn't just like another number on her roster. Like I really was somebody she cared about. And I think that made all the difference. Yeah.
When would you recommend that an artist start looking for a publisher? Or it's not a publisher, a publicist?
Yeah. That's a hard question to answer.
Like if somebody had a record, and let's just say they've put out like a few singles. Let's actually,
one record?
Let's say someone's got an EP.
EP.
They've already put out some singles and they're sitting on an EP.
Yeah.
Would you say like, hey, might be time to start thinking about looking for a publicist and like putting up a decent amount of money to see where that might be able to go?
I think that's an option. I think that there's a lot of other marketing avenues you could pay for. And recently I've been given advice where as much as you spend on the recording or like the production side, you also spend on the marketing side. So, or at least that's like best practice. So I would say, which I'm kind of wrestling with myself because I've really focused on the production side and putting all my funds into that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, putting my business hat on, it needs to have the platform. Like otherwise your money may be even more wasted, even if you spend more money on publicists. But I'm not sure if like only that like one avenue of like getting your music out there is the way to do it in your next project. So like, I think, yeah, digital marketing can be in many different forms.
Yeah.
But you should be doing something.
It's funny that you say that because I have this conversation with my brother all the time. I put out a record. A few years ago, 2019, that I had fundraised I had investors and done a lot of fundraising, and like it was the most amount of money I'd ever spent on a record, substantially the most amount of money.
It's amazing how much you could spend on a record.
Right? I spent 100% of the budget on making that record, which at the time I was like, this is incredible. I'm working with a producer who I like really admire, who works with artists that I really look up to.
Yeah.
And this record sounds killer and it sounds exactly like what I wanted it to sound like.
Can I ask who the producer was?
His name's Andy Park.
Cool. Okay.
Do you know Andy Park?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Do you know Noah Gunderson?
I do.
Okay. So Andy Park.
He was actually a client of mine.
Noah?
When I worked in publishing.
No way. Okay.
And I made a fool of myself introducing myself because I'm a fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can talk about this a little bit more. So it was insane. Noah Gunderson is like a huge inspiration for me. And at the time I had a manager who connected me with Andy Park and was like, hey, this guy, like he produces and mixes for Noah and he also plays in Young in the City.
I love Young in the City.
So she connected me with him and I started going down to Seattle and like meeting up with them. And then we had the funding for the record. So Andy produced the record. Noah's sister actually plays cello and violin on my record.
She's amazing.
And then I even got to meet Noah. Like he came into the studio one day and like listened.
What was that like?
It's like that, it's so funny. My brother and I, we went to go see Noah recently perform.
Were you like peeing your pants? So
honestly,
excited.
Well, I look back on that moment and I think I was like too chill. I think
like,
I was
the pendulum swung the other way.
Honestly, I think I was like just
cathartic.
So I couldn't believe that I was like in the studio with Noah. That I was like so chill that I just didn't take advantage of the moment at all because I was just like in awe.
Yeah.
Because here he is in the studio. He's like listening.
He's a
back.
person,
Totally.
Yeah, I know. But he's no.
But he's like listening back to like one of my tracks. I was like, yeah, sounds good. And I'm just like in that moment. That was like the highest moment of my life. Like, oh my God, this guy who I really look up to is like, oh, this track sounds good.
Yeah. Wow.
But
Quote,
all that to say,
if you were a book, you could put that in your like,
All that to say, what I realized is at the end of spending 100% of my budget on this record, there was nothing left to promote it, to push it. And I had a mentor, like an artist friend who like, I don't know if I can call him a mentor, but he's given me a lot of advice. This guy named Jordan Clausen.
Okay.
Another amazing Canadian indie folk artist.
I feel like that name sounds familiar. Yeah.
Definitely like smaller artists, but like done some really incredible stuff.
And
he was the first person who told me that I should get a publicist. And he's like, you should spend $5,000 and get a publicist. And I was like, oh my God, I just spent all my money on the record. But in hindsight, when I think about that, record was about $11,000 to make. I wish I had just done an EP for half the price and then had or even a 3-song EP for a third of the price and then use the rest for like not just a publicist and marketing, but also like a little bit of like a tour float and like room to like buy merch and like basically create the wheels for the vehicle so it can go.
Right. That is, yeah, right. It's a momentum making thing.
Yeah.
Which you need the good art as a core.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't just like promote poop, but like I guess you can if you're nature's head. But
way to bring it back.
Yeah. Thanks.
They're a sponsor of this podcast.
Yeah. Neither of us own
Nature's head.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I feel like you need, I'm like a firm believer that like, yes, first and foremost, the art's got to come first.
Mm-hmm.
But then what? You know, like,
yeah.
So, and how much to put towards that? It's like easier, I guess, to say best practices, like same, like use the same, which that was also recently told to me. And I didn't learn that in music business. I was just like given the very like basics of like, this is how the industry works.
Yeah.
This is how I label publisher. Like,
interesting. What was your experience with Noah Gunnarsson?
Oh, I was just like, hey, Noah. Like, I was just totally like a fangirl. And he was just like, he looked so tired. And I was just like so over energetic. And like the head of Sync and like A&R were just like, she's a songwriter too. And I was like, yeah. And then like, that I said something stupid. I don't even remember. But I was just like, why did you say that? Yeah. And then I just went back to work and was just like typing away, just like looking and just like, yeah, I just felt like a fool.
What was the context of this whole meet?
So basically, like, I worked in client services for the rep for their like admin stuff. So like if they didn't know where their royalties came from that quarter, they'd be like, we were supposed to get royalties from this sync in like, I don't know, Germany or whatever. And then I'd like go in and see if it's coming or like follow up with the royalties team and like explain like why they didn't make enough money that they wanted or like why or like they're waiting, like kind of just like, yeah. And so he was one of the artists that
was like, where's my money?
No. He was really good. And I worked mostly with managers and lawyers and like their reps and stuff too. So it was a special thing when like a songwriter actually came in and then they would like play stuff and like we'd all gather around. Those are fun days.
Do you have advice for artists on the best way to like keep track of their royalties and like all the money that should be coming into them from the various no.
I guess, your publisher. There's a huge disconnect between like, like I'm still very much like an independent artist. So like you're keeping track of that. Like, I mean, check the platforms, like check all of your, like as many, like, Amazon, Apple, Tidal, like all the things, like try to keep up on that. And then like, also your distributor and just make sure that like, I mean, their timeline is a little bit delayed. Everything's delayed. And then your PROs, like make sure like you're registering things, which now like in my head, I'm like, you better I still need to register my songs, but I'm just like, I know how they worked. Yeah. And it was like years, I feel like, before you saw the income sometimes. So like, I feel like there's no rush, but like definitely don't forget about all of the, income streams. And it's like important, but not urgent,
Have you ever submitted, I've always heard about this, but I've never done it. Have you ever submitted a set list to your PRO being like, hey, I played my songs, which are registered at this live performance?
I would do that for my clients sometimes, but it's interesting because like even as like an independent publisher at the time, they sometimes like didn't really care. And like, unless you're playing MSG size venues.
Something massive. Hey, I played this house show for 20 people and
it's just there's not enough money to pay to make it worth their time. It is really, that's kind of I'm I guess slightly jaded, but also it's like kind of puts the pressure off too. So you don't have to like, chase to that extreme of those royalties. Yeah. And ultimately like, if venues pay their fees to the PROs, like that should cover it. And then house shows, I'm not really, I don't think there's like a way to like chase on house show. Like that's, I guess, the con to.
At least hopefully not. That would kind of take away from the
You play for tips.
underground nature of it.
Right.
So.
No one's taking a cut, at least. But you're just. Yeah.
What does success look like for you as an artist?
Oh my gosh. I ask everyone else this question.
Ooh.
So you're going to have to answer after.
Oof. Damn.
I think it changes. The definition for me changes pretty frequently. But I think that success right now looks like making sure that I am taking control of the things I can control and letting go of the rest, and feeling true to like the art that I'm creating, making something really valuable to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm invested in it, I think it will resonate. And I don't think that has a number value to it.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks because like everything is like a catch-22. You need the numbers in order to get noticed. You need to get noticed in order to get the numbers. And it's just like, but you can't control that. Or like, I just don't want to be on social media every single minute.
Yeah.
I'm figuring that out, but like we're expected to, but like I didn't get into music to be an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make good music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as I can keep doing that, some kind of makeshift, I'm like making the definition as we speak, processing aloud. As long as I can keep doing that, I think we'll be, and I keep getting better. For myself, with my previous self, not like comparison game stuff.
Right. Yeah. Becoming a better songwriter.
Yeah.
Becoming a better performer.
Yeah. And constantly like reflecting of how I can get better, and like who do I want around me? How do I find my support systems, which was important. Like during COVID, I realized I didn't really have the support systems that I needed in place. So I went after that like over the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's given me more of a feeling of I'm doing this and it's good. And that feels successful.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't get behind success being a number.
Yeah. What is your most favorite song that you have written and put out lately?
Thank you for phrasing it with all of those words. I think that helps me narrow it down. I really like Joke.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like I just like stopped caring in a good way of like I'm so tired, and it was like a different sound. I was like kind of experimenting. So it feels like a venture, like a little evolution, like Amy J 2.02 version, where I'm like, oh, I could explore this more.
Mm-hmm. And
also just like, here world, this is how, like, this sucks. And I was like, I kind of like the way it sounds. It kind of feels like I can relive that feeling in a cathartic way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Conversely, do you have any songs of yours that you're just
Wait,
over?
You didn't answer what success means for you. Let's not. Yeah, I just remembered that.
Oh, man.
We'll go back to your conversely.
Well, it's kind of funny that you specifically said there's no like numerical value.
I mean, you can disagree.
Because I think for me, well, I have two answers.
Okay.
I have like more of like a romantic, artsy answer and more of like a tangible answer. So I think like...
Oh, I certainly have tangible goals.
Well, okay, not like different from like goals, but like...
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about, okay, what would success look like as an artist for me?
Mm-hmm.
I was actually talking with a friend about this just the other night. I think that success as an artist would be like making a 6-figure income purely derived from my efforts in music.
Can I pose food for thought?
Absolutely. But that's only half the answer.
Okay, yeah, say your other answer.
Well, I was going to say, like, I think that is like a very, like, living life in Los Angeles, trying to wrap my head around, like, how expensive life is.
Sure.
Being like, I kind of feel like I need like, to make a certain level of money, period, like regardless of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, well, that just feels like the baseline of anything. Like it could be music, could be a job, but that would be what would feel comfortable to live in the city.
Not struggling to live would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think like from more of like a just romantic, artistic perspective, I think that success could take a few different forms, but I think that having a substantial feeling that something that I created made an impact, even if it was like, like I had a conversation with somebody recently about this podcast, somebody who like I had like a lot of brief interactions with at a place where I used to work. Like he would come in and we, had like a friendship through that. And I didn't know that he listened to this podcast, and he was sharing to me like just how much he enjoys listening to it and referencing things from different episodes. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this made my day. Like I can't believe that you're actually like talking to me about this thing that I put all this time and effort into to make, and like here you are telling me about what it means to you, and like that just is incredible. So
yeah,
whenever I have an experience like that with music, where I have an interaction with another human who's like, this song or this experience or this performance like touched me, moved me, made me feel a certain way, I feel like in those moments that feels like a success.
Yeah, for sure. Like connection.
Yeah, because it feels like you actually made something magical happen. Like you somehow
facilitated that. Yeah.
Became this vessel that impacted another human in a way, and that's one of the most incredible feelings.
Truly. So, have you read The Creative Act yet?
No. The Creative Act.
Gotta. Rick Rubin, yeah.
Oh, you know what? Okay, yeah, I do need to.
Talking about a vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah. The source.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Just like creation and connection. It's all gold in there.
Yeah. You were gonna give me food for thought. Is that the food for thought or?
Oh no. Let's go back.
It was when I said that making six figures through music was.
Oh, I think it's like just a necessary thing to be able to like live, and I don't think I think everyone is entitled to not like struggle if they can. So I'm not trying to say that that's not like a good definition or something like that. I sometimes wonder if that like would change your like motives for writing and how like, or it could change your goals and like how you're like, would you then write for what makes the most money? Because if that is the goal or if that's success, like then maybe that should, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Mm-hmm. This is like a neutral stance here. I'm just food for thought. Or is it something where like cool if it happens, but like I am writing, like I've interacted with some people that have mentioned that like once they get big, it's like they're writing for their fans and they're not necessarily, which is not a bad thing.
Well,
but their art doesn't become theirs anymore. And maybe, and is that success? Maybe.
Yeah.
But right now my art is mine, and that's kind of a special thing, being like a small indie person, like artist,
Mm-hmm.
And also having a career, like I'm also a designer, so like having my finances not necessarily be completely tied to music is sometimes freeing.
Totally.
Yeah, because I don't need to worry about it paying the bills, but would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that those are a lot of valid questions. There's so many different avenues that I think you can take, and that is a really like a very real question of like, if you have a following and you have fans, do you have an obligation to those people? Are you writing?
That's a question I'm pondering. Yeah.
I think that there's also not like I feel like you can write to those fans, and it's like a wonderful thing to do that, but you can also take things in another direction and piss off all those fans and create a new fan base.
Right.
Like,
I mean, how many
it's such
times
a
have you heard an artist where you're like, what is this?
They were better when they were older.
Right,
It's not the same. They changed. It's like,
Exactly.
well, of course they changed. Like, they're a person, they're an artist.
Right. But you're an artist, so you kind of like, you're like flowing with that. But yeah, I
do
think there are people.
Your motivation changes if you have a monetary goal, for sure. I think if you're thinking like, okay, if I want to make a certain amount of money in this, like, context, this period of time, whatever it is, like, it's definitely going to inform your decision on what you're making, for sure. I don't know that that's like a right. I don't think that any of these things are right or wrong. I think they're just different paths. And it's so funny too, because at the end of the day, Ted at that show made that comment about like how as an artist it feels like you're panning for gold, and it's like it's kind of crazy.
That's a good metaphor.
I think
like,
that
go Ted.
It really can feel like that, because even people who are professionals, they're industry professionals, like no one truly knows for sure that what they're writing is going to be a hit. Everyone thinks they're writing a hit. Like, even if you've written hits, it's like this song that you're working on.
Oh, there's so many songs I'm like,
might not be a hit.
Why didn't this go anywhere? It's
because
like,
there's also 1,000 other people out there who are doing the exact same thing, and they're also incredible songwriters. Like, even if you just take like the top 40, there's only one number one song there. Like, there's
limited space.
So many songs that are not going to be. So it's.
I know, but I try not to. Yeah, I don't want to like. I want to believe. I'm going to switch this into the positive. I don't want to I want to believe that there is. We all are unique, like combos of our DNA makeup, and like everyone has their own like little tiny niche of where they feel. And I just think that there is room. There has to be room for all of us, because what else can we do but be artists? Because that's like, it's just what we do.
Yeah.
So I have to believe that there's room, and like having more of like an abundance, like, but also the reality of like this is super oversaturated, and like, why is everyone doing this?
There definitely is. I mean, going back to concerts in your home, like there are people who are professional, like house show touring artists who make a living, who do really well for themselves.
Yeah.
That are not known. I mean, there's so many artists who are not known, maybe by a certain population or a certain group of people. But we have so much at our disposal nowadays that I think there's a lot of room for people to make it, whatever that looks like. I think that probably the most important thing is just that you're aligned with what you're doing. Like your intention
That's
like
a way
your
better
intention
way
matches your actions and your desires. I think that when it's not aligned, that's when there's a lot of frustration, trauma, tension, all sorts of nasty stuff. But like, if what you're doing is what your like soul is aligned with, then that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And and if we're all kind of doing that, then I think we all have a lane. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I can't help but wonder, like, there's 8 billion people on this planet. Yeah. And every day it seems like we're becoming more and more connected. Like, you can go on your Spotify and you can see
apparently
all the weird little towns.
One of my greatest growing markets is like Zambia or something. Like,
no
it's
way.
Like so random.
So, I mean, but that's such a beautiful thing that.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Your music could reach some faraway place that you would have never thought about. So
that reminds me of that movie. Now that it escapes me, but it's a great movie.
Is it The Gods Must Be Crazy?
No.
Okay,
what is that? I
need to add it to my watch. Do you not remember that movie? It's like an old indie film from like back in the day about like a pilot. He like drops a glass Coke bottle out of his plane and it like falls on the ground, and this dude who lives in a tribe like finds this Coke bottle, and it's like such a stupid movie, but it's
Next
so
movie
good.
Night. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's this he's a songwriter, and he lived in Detroit. I think Detroit, if not just like more. Yeah, I think Detroit. And his music like blew up in like a foreign country that he never knew.
Searching for Sugar Man.
Searching for Sugar Man. Yes.
You know what's embarrassing is I still haven't seen this movie, but
Oh,
I
you
know
gotta see it.
about this guy because his story is insane.
So my Spotify Wrapped like was like giving me Searching for Sugar Man vibes. I was like, what if? You just never know.
So funny.
Like if those are your people and like America, I don't know.
You got to go to Zambia.
I guess so.
You got to do an Africa tour.
Yeah.
It'd be insane.
That would be. I've never been.
Okay, if you could tour any continent, what would you tour? You got to pick one, only one.
I mean, there are some continents that have more within them, so I feel like I want to go volume. I think South America, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be pretty sweet. I think Europe is like the obvious answer because it's like that's like the typical, but I think South America would be like beautiful and vibrant and scary maybe, and like
South America would be incredible.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah.
I feel like Africa would be really cool.
Africa would be cool too.
It's just it's such a diverse continent. Like it's huge. There's so much there.
It's pretty big. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like
van tour,
Africa van tour.
Do you have like a cross-continental ferry that you can like put
you
your
know what? I think I'd have
van
to
on?
Buy a new van
in Africa. Convert it.
You know, I'd probably buy like a Range Rover or something, but like an old one, something that could go on like rugged terrain.
Yeah. Would you like
just have a tent?
Like
a rooftop tent. Yeah. Got to stay away from the lions.
Yeah, they're pretty. I hear they're pretty.
Yeah, I hear they're pretty as well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we should probably wrap this up. You want it to be done by midnight. We're 4
we're at
minutes.
Time.
In 4 minutes,
time flies.
Nick's podcast is gonna come out. That's crazy.
Exciting.
This is also the first podcast. Nobody could see this, but this is the first podcast that we've had a live audience.
This is really exciting.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for buying our Airbnb experience. If anybody wants tickets, they are $100 each. We do a couples package for $180, and
that's a great value. Don't pass that up.
Right? Any last thoughts? What can we look forward to from you in 2024? You got those 15 singles you're holding on to.
Yeah. Something with that. It's either an album or just more singles. And also, we didn't even talk about this, but I have a concept album that I'm brewing that might take like years, and that's a whole nother thing.
Oh my God, we're gonna have to bring you back on the podcast.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Maybe Spring Street, New York.
Hey.
At the Soho location.
Yeah.
2024.
Let's do it.
Soho.
No, bring your van.
For you.
And there it is, mobile.
There we go. I'll do it. The Spring Street podcast in the van on Spring Street.
Heck yeah.
And I'll just look at these beautiful buildings and say, one day I'll be in one of these buildings.
Yep.
Man, where can people find your stuff? Where can people find your music, your socials, your blog? You can find, I don't know, all your things.
That'd be cool if I had a blog. AmyJMusic.com is my website, and AmyJMusic that's my handle for all the things.
J spelled
Jay.
Jay.
Yeah, not just the letter J, which yeah, I get spam emails with that all of the time. It pisses me off.
Oh man.
AMYJAY music.
Amazing.
Yeah, and you can find me wherever you listen. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been awesome talking with you. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, that'd be
hopefully
fun.
in New York, and
see you on the East Coast.
See you on the East Coast. I'll be there hopefully soon.
Sounds good.
Take care, Abby.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Spring Street podcast. If you'd like to support the show, sign up for the Patreon to receive exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and check out the sponsor links in the description.